I've been putting off filming this video for quite a while because I knew it was going to be a long video, and I've got all my books out, and I think we're going to be here until 2022. Hi everyone, I'm here today to do a different sort of a video. I'm here today to show you all of my books that have witchcraft or witches as a main theme. Now that might sound like a pretty niche video, however, there might be some of you out there who would really like to buy some witch themed books, and you never know, I could just be the person to bring you the best video to show you all of the witch themed books that you could add to your shelves. So there's no particular order here because I just have these anywhere. I've just pulled them all off my shelf and they're all dumped down there. So I'm just going to start grabbing them at random and show you some of my witch themed books. So the first book that I've got is this one. This is The Once and Future Witches, and the tagline of this book is that there's no such thing as witches, but there will be. So this is set in 1893, where there are no such thing as witches anymore. It used to be before the burnings began, but now witches are sort of only available in folklore. If women want any power these days, they have to find it at the ballot box. However, the Eastwood sisters join the suffragists of New Salem, and they soon begin to realise that there are forces at work that won't allow a witch to vote or even to live. So they end up having to dig deep within themselves and potentially back into old magic in order to save themselves. We've got historical fiction, we've got witchcraft, and we've got sisterhood. The next book that I've got is this one. This is The Year of the Witch In. This is about Emmanuel, who has been born into Bethel, a place where the prophets cleansed the earth of witches, and so Emmanuel is in sort of a world of piety. However, the dark woods that surround Bethel hold the spirits of the once witches, and Emmanuel finds herself drawn into these woods, and she has a gift bestowed upon her, and that gift is her mother's diary. And as she reads the diary, she realises why her mum was friendly with the witches, and she starts to unearth secrets about the prophets of the town. And so with this, Emmanuel comes to a conclusion of what must be done in order to save the town and the people of it. The next book that I've got is The Coven. The Coven brings forward a world where women are just known to be witches, and they hand down their powers to their daughters hand it down to their daughters, and it's just a commonly accepted fact. However, a new US president decides that all women who are witches need to be rounded up and done away with, and so they begin to start collecting all of these women and basically silencing witchcraft and stopping it all from taking place. And so now to be a woman is pretty much just one small step away from being a criminal. However, as the women worldwide are beginning to be rounded up, one young woman discovers a powerful sort of ability that she has that she didn't know she had, and it puts her right at the top of the most wanted list. And so she and the women around her quickly start to realise that they're just not going to give up easily. The next book that I've got is this one. This is Threadneedle, and this is a proof copy, so the actual cover looks a bit different. But this one is about magic being dangerous, and it is something that must be bound. Threadneedle is about Anna, who lives with her aunt, and her aunt tells her all about how dangerous magic is. I apologise if you can hear the washing machine. I have a wash on, and the cycle has been going forever. I think the washing machine's broken. And every time I start talking, this happens. So we're just gonna plow on. So Anna knows that she has a ceremony coming up that is going to basically bind her magic forever and stop being able to use it. And Anna is quite accepting of this upcoming ceremony. However, she meets two friends who start to sway her opinion a bit. These two friends take her into a London that she has never seen before, a London where witchcraft sort of runs rife. Anna really begins to sort of embrace this world, but then things start to happen, and Anna starts to wonder if her aunt was right after all. The next book that I've got is this one. This is The Witches, and it is Salem 1692, a history. Now, I haven't read this one, and from reading the front and the back of it, I'm just not sure whether this is non-fiction or fiction based on fact. But it says it began in 1692 over an exceptionally raw Massachusetts winter when a minister's niece began to scream and convulse. It ended less than a year later, but not before panic had infected the entire colony. 19 men and women had been hanged, and a band of adolescent girls had brought Massachusetts to its knees. Not sure if this is going to be fiction or fact. There are some pictures in here that have sort of real pictures in it. But on the front of it, it says an oppressive forensic psychological thriller. So basically what I'm trying to say is, I don't know what this is, but it's about witches, so I bought it. The next book that I've got is this one. This is Witchlight by Susan Fletcher. This is set in 1692, and it's about a wild young girl living in the mountains of Scotland. And this young girl has been imprisoned as a witch, and she's terrified, and she's in sort of a really dirty cell, and she's not having the best of times. And then an Irishman visits her, and the Irishman wants to know what she knows, because he knows that she witnessed the brutal massacre of Glencoe. So if you're familiar with Scottish history, you're about sort of the Highland clearances and all of the clan battles and just how bloody Scotland was back in this sort of time period. And so this is a girl who witnessed one of them. So she agrees to reveal what she knows if she is given permission to sort of relay her entire tale. The story is one of passion and magic and courage and betrayal, and the difference that a single heart can make to the events of history. The next book that I've got, I'm just going to do it as a threer because I've got part 1, 2 and 3, and that is, well, I get them in order. They are the Merciless. We have 1, 2 and 3, and this basically follows a group of girls who are dabbling in magic, and things get very out of hand. These are YA books, but the stuff that happens in these books would not be out of place in a Stephen King novel. They are brutal and bloody and gory and all of that sort of good stuff. So basically it's about a group of horrible girls who do some horrible things, and I'm here for it. The next book that I've got is this one. This is The Man and Three Witches. So this one is set in England, 1643. Parliament is battling the king. The war between the Roundheads and the Cavaliers rage. Puritanical fervour has gripped the nation, and the hot terror of damnation burns black in every shadow. In Manningtree, depleted of men since the wars began, the women are left to their own devices. It says, at the margins of this diminished community are those who are barely tolerated by the affluent villagers. The old, the poor, the unmarried, the sharp-tongued. Rebecca West, daughter of the formidable Beldam West, fatherless and husbandless, chafes against the drudgery of her days, livened only by her infatuation with the clerk John Eads. But then a newcomer, Matthew Hopkins, takes over the Thorn Inn and begins to ask questions about the women of the margins. When a child falls ill with a fever and starts to rave about covens and pacts, questions take on a bladed edge. Are you bored yet? Because there's still loads more to come. The next one that I've got is this one. This is The Hour of the Witch, and I recently read this one. I absolutely loved it. This one is about a woman called Mary. Mary is living in New England in 1662, a time that was very dangerous to be a woman and be slightly different because of all of these sort of accusations that would run around at that time. And Mary's life is taking an unfortunate turn because it turns out that her husband is a complete brute and he enjoys sort of stabbing her with forks and things. However, Mary makes a bit of a fuss about this, as you would, but in these sort of turbulent times to be a woman, Mary is therefore branded a witch, and people don't want to hear about what her horrible husband did. They're actually much more interested in the fact that Mary might or might not be a witch. The next book that I've got has an absolutely stunning cover. This is Cunning Women. We've got Sarah, her mother and her little sister who remain undisturbed by day, but at night time the villagers who sort of shun them during the day will come to them at night to ask for different balms and potions and things like that. And also they know that the women of this little hamlet can keep secrets, because even if the dead spill their secrets, who would believe them anyway? So one day Sarah spots a man in the field taming a wild horse, and she decides that she's going to stand around and watch him, even though she sort of risks detection by doing so. However, when the man does eventually spot Sarah, he doesn't see her as the dirty outcast that she's been sort of living as for all this time. He sees her for the strong woman that she is. Something's there between the two of them. However, unfortunately a new magistrate arrives in town and begins to wonder if anything bad that happens to the villagers might be attributed to the cunning women who live out in this little hamlet. The next book that I've got is this one. This is The Binding. Again, this is another proof copy that I got. And The Binding is by Bridget Collins. I'll just say that because I don't even think the author's... Oh, the author's written on the side there, but it's not on the front. And so The Binding follows the story of a young man. I think his name was Emmett, but I can't remember because it's been a while since I read this. Emmett, yeah. So Emmett gets sent away to live with this old, strange woman who her job is to bind books, and books are seen as a very sort of dangerous entity, and there's something about these books in particular that is very secretive. And Emmett gradually begins to learn the ways of what is going on in this book and what sort of secrets these books hold. This is a really different one and it is unlike anything that I've read before, and I really enjoyed this one. The next book that I've got is this one, Witch, and again it's another absolutely stunning cover. So this is about Evie, who witnesses her mother die at the hands of witch hunters, and it is now her job to keep her little sister safe, and they are both doomed unless she can find them a way to escape their situation. However, alongside this sort of desire to escape and make things right and safe for her sister is this burning desire to get retribution for what happened to her mother, and Evie has to now search for light within the darkness. The next book that I've got is this one. This is The Witch's Daughter. It's another semi-new buy, and I haven't read it yet, but it says, "My name is Elizabeth Ann Hawksmith. My age is 384 years. If you will listen, I will tell you a tale of witches." This is another book set in the 1600s where a young girl watches her mum swing from a tree after being hung for witchcraft. She knows that there is only one way that she can be saved from a similar fate, and that is to go to the warlock. But help from the warlock comes at a hefty price. And then it says, "In present day England, Elizabeth has built a quiet life for herself, surviving plagues, wars, and the heartbreak that comes with immortality. Her loneliness comes to an abrupt end when she's befriended by a teenage girl called Tegan. Against her better judgment, Elizabeth opens her heart to Tegan and begins teaching her the ways of the hedge witch. But the warlock is hunting her still. He'll stop at nothing, determined, even after centuries, to claim her soul. And now Bess isn't fighting to save herself anymore. She's also fighting to save the girl who she's begun to love like a daughter." Next book that I've got, again, it's another two books that come together because they are a sequel. I have here Witch Child and Sorceress. And so this series follows a journal that is discovered from the 1600s that is all about witchcraft and witches. And it follows the story of Mary, a girl who witnessed her grandmother be hanged, and a girl who hoped to make a fresh new start in the new world, a girl who is desperate to survive. The next book that I've got is called Hexan House. This is about three intertwining young women. We have in 1628, Veronica and her brother flee for their lives into the German woods after their father's burned at the stake. Then we have, at the dawn of the 18th century, Scottish maid Catherine is lured into political dissent after her parents are butchered for their beliefs. And in present-day Australia, Paisley navigates her way through the burning torches of small-town gossip after her mother's New Age shop comes under scrutiny. The next book that I've got is this one. This is Spellslinger. Now, I didn't buy this one. It just sort of fell into my possession. And I don't think I'm actually going to read this one. It doesn't sound like my sort of thing, but I've grouped it with my witchcraft books anyway, and so I'm just going to tell you about it. But as I say, I haven't read it, and I don't think I'm going to. This is about magic as a con game. Alan is moments away from facing his first magic duel, and the start of the 4 trials that will make him a spellcaster. There's just one problem: his magic is gone. As his 16th birthday approaches, Kellen falls back on his cunning until a daring stranger challenges him to take a different path. I don't know why this one doesn't speak to me so much. It seems slightly less historical fiction and slightly more fantasy. I mean, it's a very fine line with witchcraft books, but I sort of find that if something slips too far into the fantastical, I find it hard to get gripped, and so this one seems like it might be a little bit too much that way, but let me know if you've read it and if I'm completely wrong. And you'll be very pleased to know we've made it to the very last book, and that is this one, Wakenhurst. And again, this is something that I bought on a whim a few years ago, and I've just not got round to reading it yet. And it says, "In Edwardian Suffolk, a manor house stands alone in a lost corner of the fens. A glinting wilderness of water whose whispering reeds guard ancient secrets. Maud is a lonely child growing up without a mother, ruled by her repressive father. But then a painted medieval devil is found in a graveyard and unholy forces are unleashed, basically." And then it says, "Maud's battle has begun. She must survive a world haunted by witchcraft, the age-old legends of a beloved fen, and even more nightmarish demons of a father's past." That sounds a lot of fun to me, and I've just remembered why I picked it up, and I'm going to have to get around to reading it soon. Possibly in the autumn, because the autumn is like the best time for reading all of the witch books. So that was a hefty one. If you've made it to the end, well done. If you have been really annoyed by my washing machine that just keeps going on spin cycle and won't end, me too. And let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you're going to, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye for now.